The relationship between the Central Intelligence Agency of the United States and India has been marked by a complex interplay of cooperation and contention. Born out of the Cold War, this partnership has evolved significantly over the decades. From the outset, India's non-aligned stance during the Cold War presented a challenge for the United States. Washington viewed New Delhi's neutrality with suspicion, often interpreting it as tacit support for the Soviet Union. Despite these initial hurdles, areas of common interest did emerge, such as monitoring Communist China's rise. The 1962 Sino-Indian War marked a turning point, albeit a brief one. The United States provided India with military aid, and intelligence sharing between the two countries increased. However, this thaw was short-lived due to India's continued close ties with the Soviet Union. The Cold War cast a long shadow over the early CIA-India relationship. India's non-alignment policy was viewed with suspicion by the United States. Washington equated neutrality with siding with the enemy. The CIA was concerned about India's Soviet ties. The 1962 Sino-Indian War led to a brief alignment of interests. The US provided military aid, increasing intelligence sharing, but this thaw was short-lived. India's 1971 treaty with the Soviet Union reinforced US suspicions. The US tilt towards Pakistan during the Bangladesh Liberation War strained relations. CIA activities contributed to mistrust, hampering a robust partnership. The fall of the Berlin Wall and the collapse of the Soviet Union heralded a new era in international relations. The emergence of new threats, particularly transnational terrorism, created common ground for cooperation. The 1990s witnessed a gradual warming of relations between Washington and New Delhi. Economic liberalization in India opened up new avenues for engagement, while shared concerns over terrorism provided a security imperative for closer cooperation. The attacks of September 11, 2001 underscored the global nature of the terrorist threat and the need for international cooperation. The post-Cold War era saw deepening cooperation between the CIA and India, driven by the shared threat of terrorism. The 9/11 attacks and the US-led war on terror pushed for closer collaboration. Intelligence sharing increased, focusing on Al-Qaeda and Lashkar-e-Taiba. Joint counterterrorism operations and training programs were established. The US provided advanced technology and equipment to India. Strategic convergence in the Indo-Pacific led to expanded cooperation. Defense ties strengthened with joint military exercises. Yet, India's non-alignment policy and Cold War mistrust posed obstacles. Despite the growing convergence of interests between the United States and India in the post-Cold War era, several points of friction continued to complicate the relationship. India's nuclear ambitions were a major source of contention. Washington's long-standing policy of non-proliferation clashed with New Delhi's determination to develop its nuclear capabilities. India's nuclear tests in 1998, conducted despite strong US opposition, led to a period of strained relations. The United States imposed sanctions on India, and the CIA's activities in the region were closely scrutinized. Another major irritant was the United States' close ties with Pakistan, which was a source of deep frustration in New Delhi. Despite these challenges, the shared threat of terrorism and the growing convergence on strategic issues like China provided a strong incentive to maintain a working relationship. The relationship between the CIA and India has traversed a complex and often contradictory path. From the suspicion and mistrust of the Cold War era to the burgeoning partnership of the post-9/11 world, the relationship has been shaped by a confluence of factors. The shared threat of terrorism, particularly from groups operating in South Asia, will continue to be a major driver of cooperation. The growing convergence of interests in the Indo-Pacific region, particularly in the context of China's rise, will also provide a strong impetus for closer collaboration on security issues. However, potential points of friction remain. India's continued reliance on Russia for defense equipment, its nuclear ambitions, and the complex dynamics of the US-Pakistan relationship could pose challenges. Despite these challenges, the relationship between the CIA and India is likely to remain one of enduring significance. The future of this partnership will depend on the ability of both sides to build trust, manage differences, and capitalize on opportunities for cooperation.